Well, Aaron, Ranson, man, thanks for taking time to hop on a phone call with me or video call and just go through some of these questions that we've talked about. Just kind of hear little bit more about your story. So I appreciate you, man.
Oh, my absolute pleasure. I appreciate the invite.
Yeah. So to get things rolling here, man, share a little bit about your background. How long have you lived in Kentucky? You're in the Danville location. Are you born and raised there? Just what's the background there in
Yeah,
Kentucky?
so I grew up in Indiana, actually,
Okay.
uh, on the like off the west side of Indianapolis. I'm from out in the middle of nowhere. Um, a four-way stop sign amongst cornfields. That's where I grew up. So,
Nice. Okay.
but
Well,
it was great because you're close to the city. Like, I mean, you're 15, 20 minutes from like downtown Indianapolis, but you're out in
yeah.
the country. So honestly, I mean, it was the best of both worlds. But I've been in Kentucky since 1999. That's when I started my undergraduate studies in Eastern Kentucky, and never left. So I've been
Yeah.
here ever since. Lived in the Lexington area for I don't know, 12, 15 years. And then we've lived here in Danville for almost 10 years. So
Okay.
yeah, it's been, I've been in Kentucky a long time now, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah, I know. So what it sounds like Eastern Kentucky what brought you to Kentucky in the first
Well,
place?
I moved there for school. I mean, so I went to college there, and that's what brought
Right.
me ultimately. So
Right.
I went to Kentucky Christian University, which is in Grayson, which is real close to the Kentucky, Ohio, West Virginia kind of tri-state area, just east on 64, just past Moorhead. Went there for school. A lot of my friends were going to school there. It's actually where my parents met and went to
Okay.
school. So it was a natural choice for me. I wasn't really sure what direction my life was going in at that point. So went there for school and, like I said, never left.
Yeah. So you're coming up on about 25 years in Kentucky now. So
Yeah.
how long are you getting close, or are you past the point where you spent more time in Kentucky than you spent in
Past.
Indiana?
Yeah.
Yes. So now it's
Past.
officially home. Yeah. That's great.
It is home. Absolutely. It is
Yeah.
home. I mean, we're raising our family here. My kids, I have three children. They're all native Kentuckians. My wife's a native Kentuckian. I mean, this is home.
So you mentioned that you've been in Danville for the past 10 years.
Yep.
I've gotten to spend we got to work together at a
Yeah.
church we went to together in Danville, and man, I really enjoy just learning about the community there. And since then I've gotten to know some different friends. My wife and I have
Yep.
gotten close with some friends that are from the Boyle County, Danville area, and
Yep.
it's just got a really unique, I don't know, culture and feel to it.
It
Can you speak a little bit to that?
Oh, absolutely. Danville is I mean, you said it well. It is a unique place. It is for a city our size, and Danville probably is around the 20,000 population mark. Boyle County is much larger, but Boyle County is also kind of a regional hub for a lot of the outer, more adjacent counties. So people from Casey County, Garrett County, and Marion County, and even further out, kind of come to Danville to shop, to live, to eat out, to do entertainment, and so it really is more of a regional hub. But I think what gives Danville its kind of unique flavor, if you will, and culture is Center College is here, and so we are very much a college town, and so we have an art scene that is way above what a town our size would have. We have Norton Center for the Arts on Center's campus that brings in, I mean, top name headline singers, dancers, performers. So there's a bustling art scene in Danville. It's also Ephraim McDowell Hospital is headquartered here, and so that also brings a lot more culture to a town our size that typically you would not find. As you go around Kentucky, Danville's no bigger than a lot of smaller cities and towns, but the culture here is way different. It has a unique identity that is all its own. I mean, people from Danville are very quick and very proud to tell you they're from Danville. They're not from Lexington. They're not from these, like, they are from Boyle County. They are Danville people, and they are proud of that.
Yeah, I mean, the one of the big things I think about is the high school athletics too that are
Oh,
there in Boyle County. I mean, you've
yes.
got some great sports teams there, and
Absolutely.
I remember driving in and out of town around like state championship time.
Yes.
There's signs lined up
Yep.
along the road,
Yep.
that kind of
They
stuff.
they call it Titletown for a reason.
Yeah,
I mean, really, between Danville High School, Boyle County High School, I mean, the number of state championships, and not just in the bit, not just in football, basketball, but I mean, they are very accomplished, very accomplished. In fact, I believe Boyle County football is 2 years running state champion, and
man,
looks to repeat again. They've got another strong group, and they're going to have a great
that's
team this
awesome.
year.
That's awesome. So I mentioned it earlier. We had a background working together
Yep.
at a church there in Danville, and played some music together. So
Yeah.
a nice shout out to your beautiful singing voice and guitar playing abilities and that kind of
Thank
thing.
you.
But I remember, man, I want to talk about dry stack
Yep.
coffee, and I'll never forget, like when I started serving at the Danville campus there in town. It was like there was this underground ring of like craft coffee that was coming in and out of Danville, like back and forth to Lexington.
Yeah.
And like I remember people would be because you were making coffee out of your house, but it
That's
was
right.
this really great coffee that people
Yeah.
were like putting in orders, and you had other people that were like, I hate to use the term muling this coffee, like
Yes, they were.
from
Yeah.
Danville to Lexington, like bags on bags on bags
That's
of
right.
these beans and
Yep.
stuff. And I was like, what is this dry stack coffee? And so obviously now, I mean, it's grown even more. It's exploded
Yeah.
in popularity there in Danville. You've got your own location there in downtown Danville and that kind of stuff. But man, tell us, when did you first develop an interest
Yeah.
in coffee and brewing coffee? And what's the right
Yep.
term? Not brewing. What's the right term for what you do with the roasting?
Roasting. Yeah.
Okay.
So principally, I'm a roaster.
Yep.
That's how Dry Stack got its start. So back in, I guess it was 2015. Going on before that, I've been a lifelong coffee guy.
Yeah.
So I have enjoyed drinking coffee for the majority of my life. I didn't grow up in a home. My parents didn't drink coffee, but my grandfathers did. My grandparents did, and so my earliest memories of drinking coffee are with my grandparents, some of the people that I've loved the most in my life. So I have very great memories of that. And then also, I mean, thinking principally about some of the best relationships that I have in my life. Coffee has been a central character in those relationships because it's an easy thing to grab coffee with somebody and to have a conversation, to catch up, to meet somebody new, to talk through hardships or situations that you find yourself in life where you just need counsel and wisdom. And so I've been a lifelong coffee guy. I actually worked with, when I started at Kentucky Christian, there was an on-campus coffee shop that had just started right before I got there. And so I was involved with that some. Actually ran kind of an ad hoc coffee shop out of my dorm room for a couple of years. Well, I've enjoyed the coffee scene.
Well, wait. So you were were you roasting coffee even then, or
No,
were
I
you
wasn't
just like
roasting. I wasn't, no, not
barista?
roasting yet. So just
Okay.
buying coffee, I was making drinks to order. And you got
Okay.
to, I mean, the internet was in its infancy. I mean, literally, like my earliest memories of college was like downloading songs from Napster for people who remember what that was. So we're talking like the infancy. So there wasn't like this mobile ordering thing, but people would like call my dorm and be
Yeah.
like, "Hey, bring me a vanilla latte," and be like, "Absolutely." So I'm literally making drinks in my dorm, and so I've been a lifelong coffee guy. My family and I relocated to Danville, and there's a shop that's been in Danville for a long time. But I was spending a lot of money, quite honestly, buying coffee from roasters around the country, just trying to get really unique, expressive, freshly roasted coffee. And so I just, as a hobby, thought, you know what I would love to do? I would love to learn about roasting and what all is involved with that. So I started reading about it, and it just captivated me. I mean, there's so much science. There's also so much artistry involved with roasting. You get to work directly with people who are growing your coffee, so it's just a very different thing.
When was this?
This was 2013, 2014, probably
Okay.
around that time. I didn't
Okay.
actually start my company until 2015.
Okay.
And so you mentioned that we worked at a church together, and that was great. One day, It was a Sunday morning. I'd gotten to the point where I'd learned enough about roasting that I wanted to buy a roaster, but
Yeah.
coffee roasters are like prohibitively expensive. Like it's not something like a real roaster is not something that you're just going to be like, oh, let me go roll the dice on this thing. I mean, they're many thousands of dollars. They're very expensive. Yeah. But I was on Craigslist. This was before Facebook Marketplace was a thing, and I found this coffee roaster that was like one of the ones that I was looking for, and I bought it for next to nothing. I mean, absolutely next to nothing, and started learning how to roast coffee on my own from just scientific stuff I was reading online, watching YouTube videos of other roasters, and I really had no intention for it to be like my livelihood. Yeah. It was just something I was interested in. And I started roasting a lot of coffee. I was giving a lot of coffee away. And a lot of my friends encouraged me that it was good enough, I guess, that they thought I should start selling it. And so then what you described as kind of the underground coffee trade began. And that's really, I mean, that's how we started. I mean, I was selling coffee just to friends and family and people who knew me. I mean, it was a while before we even had a website.
So at that point, did you just have like one roast that you were just making over and over and over and sending it out?
Much. Yeah, I had two different green coffees that I started out with, and a decaf. So really, I had three. Okay. And I mean, when I'm talking like I'd buy a 55, 60 pound bag of green coffee, roast it, sell it, buy another one. I mean, it was a very small time operation.
Yeah.
Very small time operation. Nothing like, not that we're an enormous operation now, but nothing like what our operation is today.
So the whole process. So you've got a bean that you're roasting. Where does the bean come from? Where are you getting that from?
Yep. So we actually source coffee from all over the world. That is one of the things that is a core part of our company is we want to allow people to taste coffee from around the world, taste its differences, talk about the people who grew it, the producers, and kind of highlight the differences between Brazilian coffee, Guatemalan coffee, Kenyan, Ethiopian coffee. So at any given time, we have coffee from 7 to 10 different countries, coffee growing countries. Wow. Some of those we buy through more direct relationship, but most all of those we buy through a coffee trader. So I have 3 different importers that I principally work with, who I've worked with for now a number of years, who send me samples all the time. They kind of know what I'm looking for. They know who Dry Stack is and what we do. They send me samples, and probably for every 20 samples of green coffee I taste, I buy one. I mean, we're very, very choosy on what we buy, largely because, I mean, coffee's expensive. And I know that is, especially in today's hyperinflation world, like everything's expensive, but coffee is at like a 35-year high. So green coffee is very expensive. It's very costly to transport it because it's bulky, it's heavy. So, coffee comes on a freight truck and, you forklift it off, and so we're very choosy. We want very high quality coffee, but coffee that's not so expensive that, people inside of our market would be like, this is crazy. Yeah.
So at the beginning of Dry Stack's infancy, you've got these couple of different roasts that you're making. You got would you call it a commercial grade roaster that you
absolutely
purchased? Yep. And you've got this bad boy just in your house.
That's
and you're
yeah.
You're just roasting these.
When I made the decision, hey, we're gonna incorporate, we're gonna become like a legit thing. Yeah. I knew there are laws that regulate the food manufacturing industry, and coffee roasting technically in Kentucky anyway is labeled at it is a food manufacturing process. So I needed a manufacturing and processing permit from the state. So I started looking for commercial space to rent to just do this. But as it turns out, you can actually do it. I was able to certify part of my home. So it was a completely, now it's kind of a very specific situation. The upstairs of my home at the time was partially unfinished. There was about 1,200 square feet unfinished or partially finished that I actually finished out as a state certified food manufacturing and processing plant, if you will. Which is crazy. Yeah. But it saved me a lot of money because I had no additional rent expenses. And so that's also the story of Dry Stack. We were able to grow as slowly as I wanted to. I mean, I didn't have all these bills and all this debt obligation. I had none. And so I was able to be very choosy about doing business with other people from a wholesale standpoint. I wanted to make sure we had, that our visions were aligned as far as how we treat coffee, and, not trying to be overly snooty about it, but, you just want to be choosy about who you lock arms and do business with sometimes. And so we grew very slowly, and that was intentional. I was still full. This was completely on the side. I had a full-time career at the church. And so this was all in the extra time that I had outside of being a dad, outside of being a husband. And so we grew quite slowly, intentionally, and had to put the brakes on a lot of times.
Yeah, so that's what I wanted to ask next is, you were a pastor for a long time.
Yep.
And you sounds like you started roasting, experimenting with what that looked like around 2013, 2014. I think you said the company actually was established 2015.
That's right.
When would you say in the process you started thinking like, this could be I could do this full time and I want to pursue this?
Yep, that's a great question. I mean, honestly, the dry stack had grown to a point where, and probably for a couple of years, I was at a decision point. Either I needed to let somebody else run the company. Like, it had grown to the point where it needed full-time attention from probably more than just one person. And so for me, I was on that ledge of, well, is that person me? Have I taken this as far as I want to take it? Do I sell the company to somebody else, just let it be what it is and let it go away, and stay in my position at the church? Or, we had to make a decision, honestly. I couldn't rightfully continue to do both. And, I mean, without getting into too many, finer details, I mean, I'd been at the church for a long time. And it was a good time for me to move on. I'd been there a long time, had a lot of friends, had done a lot of meaningful work. And honestly, a lot of that work continues for me. I mean, that's a lot of just who I am. Ministry is absolutely a calling. It's not just a vocation. And so if that's something that you take seriously, it doesn't end when your tenure at that church ends. So honestly, I'm probably involved in as much or more ministry day to day than I was at the church. And that's saying something, because what life at the church was like. But it was just, organizationally, I felt like it was just the church was moving in a direction. And I just felt like, what, this is a good off point for me. And so made the change, was able to acquire space in town in Danville on Main Street to actually open up a coffee bar, which is a completely separate business from our roasting company. And so that's kind of where we are today. That's how we got there.
I want to, if you don't mind sharing, because I think there's probably a lot of people out there that may be listening to this, but that whether it's coffee or whether it's something else, that they've got this side hustle or something that they're passionate about, and they've got this other, they've got their full-time gig.
Yep.
And I just imagine it would have to take a lot of courage to decide, like, I'm going to make a leap and I'm going to just go for this. Was that a difficult decision for you? Was it scary? Was it just exciting? Like, walk me through actually making that decision.
Yeah, it was all of that. It was all of that. I mean, I think for me, I realized this in the middle of the pandemic. For almost 20 solid years, I've never had to worry about, am I going to get a paycheck or not? My family has never had to worry about, are we going to be able to pay our bills, so long as we were living inside of our means, because the church always took such great care of us. When you start to contemplate going out on your own, and it rises and falls on you, some people say you got to kill it and drag it home in order to eat. It is a very different mindset. Yeah. It requires a ton of courage. Yes, there was a lot of fear. Like, is this the right thing? Are we going to be able to do this? Like, as side hustles go, Dry Stack was a phenomenal one. As a principal thing, like, I don't know. I mean, like, you can look at it at the financials and say, hey, the numbers are really good. Like, this is going to work. But your head and your heart, like, tell you something. Like, there's a lot of fear and anxiety around that. And so we wrestled with it for a long time, honestly, a long time. But ultimately decided that, I think betting on ourselves is a safe bet. I mean, if you're willing to go out and work no matter what, there's opportunity. It's not a guarantee. It's not a guarantor of success. But if you're willing to get up and go after it, on the whole, opportunities are going to come your way, and you're going to have a chance to be successful. And so, I just rolled the dice and bet on myself, and bet on the people that I thought I could surround myself with. And Dry Stack is very much a team effort. It doesn't rise and fall on me or any one person. I mean, it takes all of us, and our team is phenomenal. And I've been doing this full time now, almost 2 years, and it's been exceptional.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that answer. I think that's applicable to a lot of people. They're feeling like they're being I don't know, they're pulling one direction, but
Yep.
they like the safety or the comfort of where they're at today, and
Oh,
that can just be
absolutely.
that can be really challenging.
It can be. I mean, it's easy to stay comfortable a lot of times, and that's not a bad thing.
Right.
That's not a bad thing. I will say, not everyone would be cut out for the life that I lead as an entrepreneur, as a business owner. It's hard. I mean, it's
Yeah.
difficult.
Yeah.
There's no guarantee. I mean, life looks very different when you're signing the paychecks.
Right.
It looks very different. And hustle culture is a good thing to a point, I think, but I think that people need to think about the life. I know that for me, the most important thing in my life outside of my faith is being a dad, being a husband,
Mhm.
and having a full-time job and a side hustle. Even if both of those are a success, if I'm not winning at home, it's not worth it to me.
Right.
And so that's a lot of what helped me make the decision. Was I'm going to take back complete control of my schedule, completely.
Yep.
And that is both to my benefit and detriment at times. I mean, because like I say, I mean, if you're not making sales, if there's not cash coming in, then you pay your people and you're going to eat on what's left. And if that's not going the way you
Right.
want to go, that's a difficult place to be.
Yeah.
But thankfully things have been great for us.
Yeah. So you kind of hit on this earlier. There is a social element to coffee to where you can. I've been to your all's location. You were
Yep.
telling me earlier you're actually in a space above your coffee shop, but it's
That's
a
right.
really cool location there in Danville. Got a really great vibe to it, and
Yep.
just somewhere would want to go hang out. Do y'all think about that much
Oh,
I know
yes.
coffee is a big part of it. You want to have a good
Yeah.
drink and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I mean, what does the social element of creating an environment where people can
Yep.
come, hang out, have conversations, how does
Yep.
that play into
Oh,
decisions?
it's huge, and we think about it. We think about it all day, every day. It is one of the central drivers of everything we do. We want Dry Stack to be like a living room for our community, where anybody can come in. You don't have to agree with one another, but kindness. We show kindness to everybody, and we want to set the stage for conversations and for relationships to form, to deepen. And central to that is our product. Like, the product has to be good.
Yeah.
I think the magic in our business is where, if your setting is great and your product is great, but more importantly, if you're really good at hospitality and you take good care of people and your customer service is on point, if those three things can align and be excellent, then magic can happen.
Yeah.
And so we think a lot about how to set the stage for our shop to be a community or a living room for our community. We think about it all the time.
Well, I know you're doing that well. I was in Danville recently and was having a conversation with a faculty member at Center College, and
Oh yeah.
we were and Dry Stack came up, and the individual I was talking to was like, "Yeah, Dry Stack has just completely blown up. It's the go-to place where students go. They go do their homework there. They meet up
Yep.
with friends there, all that kind of stuff." And that's what I mean. My wife and I, Olivia, we would do that. We had a coffee shop we loved in Bowling Green. We went to
Yep.
Western Kentucky, and we would go there all the time. And it's like, you want a good cup of coffee, but you also just want a cool place where you can
That's right.
spend time with friends
Yep.
and have
Yep.
good intentional conversations,
Yep.
or just hang out and relax. And I
Yep.
think that's a huge part of just the coffee shop scene in general.
Yep.
So yeah, I think
I agree. I agree.
yeah.
One of the other things that we've done and tried to be intentional about is letting community groups use our building. largely free of charge.
Mm.
So we allow people to come in and do classes. We work with the extension office. We've worked with workforce development and allowed for training. We've also allowed political candidates to come and have meetups. We show no allegiance to any
Yeah.
idea. We don't really screen. It's the thing we say, especially to our political candidates who've come in, is, hey, we you can absolutely have your event here. Don't take it as an endorsement. If your opponent
Yeah.
calls and wants to have a meetup here tomorrow, we will say yes. Like, we are here for the exchange of ideas and cordial conversation. And so being able to have community groups have a place that they can come and meet and do classes, training, or just have a book club. I mean,
Yeah.
has been a lot of fun too.
That's cool. So I mean, so you've come a long way from the,
Long way.
commercial kitchen up in
Hopefully,
the
yeah.
in the attic of your house to where you've got your own place. I mean,
Yeah.
from everything I can see, y'all are just doing really well and thriving as a business. So what is the long term? Do you have a long term vision for where you'd like Dry Stack to go? Or are you just kind of taking it day by day? What does that look
Well,
like?
that's a great question. I mean, obviously we think about that. I'll say first and foremost, I'm a guy who's pretty content. I'm not looking to be the next Howard Schultz, to be the next Starbucks. Like, that's not
Yeah.
my mentality is not more, bigger, bigger, bigger. I think for me, as long as Dry Stack has a vital place in communities, then we have a place. And that may sound overly simplistic, but there's no plan on that says we want to have 10 stores in 5 counties by the end of that's
Right.
not the case at all. We just want to be a thriving part of our community, create a place where people want to come, a business that works. And I think as long as we're there, as opportunities come in, we'll look at them. But we just want to be a thriving community partner. And as long as we can do that, then I think we're winning.
I'm curious because, again, my wife and I are big coffee people, and we just enjoy the coffee scene. And there's a ton of great coffee shops in the
Oh,
Lexington
absolutely.
area where we're located. I know there's a couple in addition to you in Danville. Is
Yep.
there any collaboration between coffee shops in the area, or do you all kind of stay in your own lane? And what does that look
Well,
like?
I think, first and foremost, the specialty coffee industry is incredibly inclusive. The number of people who honestly were giving me advice knowing that I'm about to be their competitor,
Mhm.
that blew me away. That blew me away. People generally in our industry want each other to succeed.
Yeah.
And I believe that. I mean, there's another long established coffee shop on my block here in
Yeah.
Danville. And I want nothing but the best for them. I want them to succeed. I firmly believe if we succeed, it'll help them succeed. If they succeed, it'll help us. I think if Starbucks succeeds, it helps us too. I think competition is a good thing. But yes, there is collaboration. To what degree is going to vary by community, but overall, I would say overwhelmingly, the coffee industry is very welcoming to other shops, competitors, because I think we all know we're in it together. And if somebody's in Lexington having good coffee and they come here, they're going to be my customer. And we send people to our favorite shops in Lexington all the time.
Yeah.
So, we talk very positively about our competitors.
And that kind of leads into another question I have for you of it's such a unique industry. Is there anything about the coffee industry that maybe what you just hit on that you're especially proud of, or that you think is just a cool part that's kind of unique to the
Yeah.
coffee
Yep.
area?
I would say that for sure.
Yeah.
That for sure. And I think also coffee shops and coffee culture is very inclusive of differing beliefs, of differing opinions, and that is something that I enjoy. I mean, certainly, every one of us walking around has our own deeply held beliefs.
Mhm.
I think where a lot of times people in the world get in trouble is where they close themselves off to others who might disagree with them. I think there's absolutely a place to have cordial conversation and to have, I think I can be great friends with somebody who I disagree with 8 out of 10 points on whatever subject.
Yeah.
And so we're trying to actually put that into action. But I think overwhelmingly the coffee industry does that very well as well. So they're inclusive, not just to each other, but also to the public, and try to show kindness and deference to our customers and to our community every chance we get.
Yeah, yeah. That's great. I agree. I think that's all true about that specific community of people. So how can Kentuckians, Central Kentuckians, people around here, how can they best support Dry Stack other than waltzing up to the counter
Well,
and
yeah, I mean,
buying a cup of coffee?
obviously, yeah, you can come visit us. You can buy our
Yeah,
coffee online. I mean, we ship coffee all over the United States, which blows my mind, but we do every week. We send packages out all over, which is cool. So obviously that, but by and large, honestly, I think support your local shops.
yeah,
Support your local shops, support my competitors,
yeah,
support local businesses. I mean, I think the pandemic taught us a lesson that where your food comes from, where your products come from, your community matters. And so I think what I would say is patronize your local businesses. Drive to other communities and see what's going on, and spend your money in those communities with those locally owned businesses, and help other people prosper by coming and visiting, and seeing what all's going on. Honestly, that's the best thing that Kentucky
yeah.
could do for us, is just support your local shops. And when you're out and about, look us up, look other places up, and give them your business.
What's the craziest place you've sent a shipment of coffee to? Do you feel like?
I would say the one that comes to mind right off the top of my head is probably Ethiopia.
Oh my gosh.
And that
That's
was
crazy.
to a friend of mine, was deployed with the National Guard in Ethiopia, was doing a tour there for, I don't know, 6 to 9 months. And his wife would routinely have me send coffee over there to him, which we did. We were happy to do that completely free of charge.
Yeah.
That was really cool. Like, and he sent me a picture actually from over there, like sitting drinking and I'd sent him Ethiopian coffee too, just to be a little
Yeah.
tongue in cheek. It was crazy that the coffee traveled from Ethiopia to
Yeah.
me, Kentucky, and then I sent it right back.
It was probably like a $15 bag of coffee that cost like $100 to ship.
It probably was. Yeah.
Okay, another loaded question for you
Yeah.
before we hop off here soon. But in your professional opinion, what is the difference between a good cup of coffee and a bad cup of coffee?
Oh man. First, I would say first of all, you know how sometimes like you make coffee at home and it's really good, and then you make coffee the next day and it's maybe not as good. You know, a lot of times it's just knowing what you did. So I would say having a recipe that you follow like religiously, like, I could talk about equipment, this or that, but honestly, what it comes down to, really fresh coffee, freshly ground, and following your recipe every single time, so that when you make small adjustments, you actually know what's changing.
Yeah.
I've had really like exceptionally good coffee from a Mr. Coffee $20 coffee pot. And I've also had really, really bad coffee brewed on a $5,000 machine.
Yeah.
So generally what makes the difference is you're using good water, you're using fresh coffee, and somebody cares about what they're doing and is paying attention to the fine details.
I remember we had a conversation probably a couple of years ago now, but I was struck by the scientific element of like the measuring of everything, and especially in the actually roasting process where you're, it's like chemistry that you're, figuring out the perfect formula.
Yes.
Wow.
There is so much chemistry involved both on the roasting side and on the brewing side. I mean, basically what you are doing when you're brewing coffee is you are taking water soluble compounds, solids in coffee, and imparting them into water. And so the way that you get there are so many variables. How fresh the coffee is, the particle size of the grinder, uniform, how uniform are the particles, your water temp, all of those things make a huge difference. And so when somebody's doing it right and really managing all those smaller variables and processes, you can really get to some great tasting coffee.
Yeah. All right. My last question for you. What is your favorite part about Central Kentucky?
Ooh.
Or one of your favorite parts? I won't put you that much on the spot.
No, you're fine. I can handle that. I think by and large, people here are very hospitable.
Yeah.
It's as a Southerner, if you will, as a Kentuckian, I know when I travel, like, you're walking down the street, you feel like you want to look at everybody and say, "Hey, how's it going? Hey, how's it going? How's it going?" And it feels so weird when you're not like, but when you come back home and you realize, like, man, people on the whole are very hospitable. I think honestly, that's one of my favorite things. It's just on the whole, people are warm, people are hospitable, people are caring, and it is an absolutely beautiful landscape. I mean, the
Yeah.
Central Kentucky region is just, it is mind-blowingly beautiful. And
Yeah.
we have great lakes, we have great outdoors, we have hills, we have mountains, we have it all. It's a great place to live and grow a family.
I agree. I agree. And when I first reached out to you about this, I told you, man, I just wanted to take some time really to not only just learn about your story, but just express my gratitude to you. As you know, I think Central Kentucky is an amazing place. It's a special place. It's got some really cool things about it. And I think it's people like you that are doing cool things. And, you know, whether it's coffee shops or some other type of entrepreneurial business that they're working on, I'm just grateful for all the work and time that you put into making Danville, Kentucky, and Central Kentucky as a whole a really cool, special place. So thanks, man.
Hey, it's our pleasure. Thank you. And thanks for the invite again. It's great talking with you.
Absolutely. Thanks, Aaron.
All right, buddy. See ya.